Hello, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of Texas Longhorns here live at the Voice of College Football. I am your host, as always, on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, every Monday during the football season and in the offseason. Matthew Miller, thank you guys for being here again. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. Again, let's do a little bit of homework before we get into the good stuff. Catch us live on your free audio platform of any choice, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We're all going to be there. Just type it in Voice of College Football Texas. You will find me. To my one listener in Belgium. Yes, I only have like 4 or 5 listeners right now. One of them in Belgium. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Also, if you're going to shop Amazon like most Americans do, or if you're from another country, use the Amazon link in the description. It is free of charge, doesn't cost you any money, gives Mark a little bit of change in his pocket. So please go down there and use the Amazon link in the description. It really helps out. And Mark, every 10 a.m., Monday through Friday during the football season, guaranteed, he is there to talk football, whatever you want. And you can keep the show going as long as you want. If you donate any sort of money and you get up to $100, you're going to get another hour of the show. So please go over there, like the content, subscribe over there at the Voice of College Football. I do appreciate it. Guys, please hit the like and subscribe button. Share this out with your friends, family, neighbors, your friendly Longhorns fans, your angry Sooner fans, your angry Texas A&M fans. I don't care. Bring them in. We can have a nice long discussion about whatever team you want. I'm also going to be going and doing an SEC show starting sometime in the next 2 weeks over there. So go subscribe to the SEC channel as well. It really helps out. We're trying to build. Thank you, guys. Michael, yes, hook 'em. The number one team in the country. The number one team in the country. I can't even believe we're talking about that, guys. We are the number one team in the country. Yeah, that works too. Tell all the people at Publix about Texas Longhorns here live at the Voice of College Football. So please do that. Thank you, Jackson, for being here. Jackson has an awesome Alabama show you guys should check out as well. They're about to head into a magnificent matchup in a couple weeks here with Georgia. So that's going to be a hell of a game. Honestly, probably the number one game so far in the season. I'm really excited for that because I think there's 4 teams battling for that number one spot. I think it's Georgia, Alabama, Texas, and Tennessee. So that's going to be a hell of a game there down in Tuscaloosa. And I predicted Alabama to win that game. So we'll see what happens there. But man, what a week to miss a football game. I had a wedding to attend. I was not able to be here post-game. I checked my phone during the after the ceremony, obviously, at the reception, and I see Quinn Ewers is hurt. That's like the first thing I saw. That's exactly when I tuned in. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's freaking awesome. I wonder what it is. So, and people are overreacting, melting down online, and I'm thinking, great. Is this guy out for the season? Because this is what everyone is making it seem like. Then I go and watch the clips and everything, and I realize, okay, he looks hurt, and it looks serious, but he was able to walk off the field. There was nothing wrong with his legs, and I saw him move his arms around, so his shoulders were good. So I'm like, what is this? And we come to find out it's an abdominal injury, and he hurt it on the throw to Gunnar Helm, where Gunnar Helm made a fantastic play running down the sideline and then hurting a defender. And my parents were asking me, how does someone hurt their abdomen when they don't really get hit? Torque, guys, torque. It's just like a pitcher. You're a lot of torque here, and weak obliques, weak abdomen muscles, not working the core enough, Quinn. You need to work on that because you're giving me a scare over here. And we'll get into this game. Texas beats UTSA 56-7. It was an absolute boat racing. Not much to take away from this game on the Texas side. UTSA is not a very good football team at all. They're definitely not the UTSA of a couple years ago. You don't have Frank Harris there. You don't have Zachary Franklin there. You don't have Trey Moore there, who is now on the Texas sideline. So I'm not surprised that they blew them out. I think my prediction in that game was 48-17. I didn't think Texas would cover, and I've been wrong all 3 times. I didn't think Texas would cover any of the 3 opening games. They have covered every game, and they face their biggest spread this week. We'll get into that game later as well. But Arch Manning comes in relief. He was fantastic, 9 of 12, 223 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions for him, and then 1 touchdown on the ground as well. He showed off that speed that we've been talking about. Us Texas fans have heard about it for a while, the ones that have been dialed in every day since he's been here. He reached 21 miles per hour running the ball, which equates to around a mid 40-second 40-yard dash. Man, that's hard for me to say. So he's probably running 4.45 40-yard dash. That is really good for a quarterback, especially with someone with a rocket arm like him. Overall, I'll push that back. We're going to get into Quinn versus Arch in a second. We'll talk about the other guys for right now. Quinn was 14 of 16 in his limited duty for 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception for Quinn Ewers. I thought he was fantastic. He had 1 interception that was bad. Basically, what I said he's gotten better at. His footwork was really sloppy on that play. Drops back to pass. There was a little bit of heat there, but not much. He looked down the field, couldn't find anyone, was going to check it down, and for whatever reason got happy feet, kind of threw off his back foot. Not even really. It was like levitating off his back foot. Sails the running back Trey Weiser in the flat, and it's picked off. If he had his feet set and they were good, it would have been a completion. He didn't, and it's an interception. If Quinn Ewers hasn't 100% nailed down the footwork, but it's way better than it used to be. That was the only one time this year, honestly, where I've said, wow, that's terrible footwork. So he can work on that when he gets back into the fold. Jarrett Gibson, I said from the first game, I thought this guy had the most juice in the running back room just by watching him. I think that's clear now. Jaden Blue misses this game, and Jarrett Gibson has a pretty good game. 13 rushes for 75 yards. He fumbled, though. And that is what happens with first-time freshman running backs or even first-time running backs. We saw that with Jaden Blue getting a lot of carries last year. He fumbled a couple times when he shouldn't have. And it's something I think you have to live with early on, especially with all the injuries we have. But overall, I think Jarrett Gibson should be getting more touches, and I think you're going to see that in the future. And just like this guy, we're going to go to the defensive side for a second. 3 sacks for Texas. It's the most in any game this year for the Longhorns. Colin Simmons has 1 sack. Colton Bosick has 1 sack. And Leona Lafau has 1 sack at the linebacker position. Colin Simmons had his most snaps of the year with 30. He had 1 sack. He was also second on the team in tackles. I said this guy should be getting more playing time. Just, again, he's jumping off the film when he's on the field, and he's got more playing time. I think it's smart. I love everything about how the staff handles things, guys. I really do. They basically ease these guys in instead of just throwing them into the mix, and you see results when they get eased in instead of throwing them in there, and then they're confused by what they see. That isn't happening. Because you're easing them in, they're getting used to what they're seeing. They're playing more, and when they play more, slowly and steadily, they make better plays, and they have results showing on the field, which then in turn gives them confidence. And you see that with Jarrett Gibson. You see that with Colin Simmons. You're seeing that. We'll go back to the other side of the ball now with Ryan Wingo. 3 receptions, 127 yards. He was the leading receiver yards-wise, and 1 touchdown for him. The touchdown to me wasn't the best play for him. It was when Arch Manning made that beautiful throw, rolling out to the left and throwing back right on the run. Doesn't even turn his hips to face up like you should. Throws it. That is all arm talent and core. And Ryan Wingo makes a hell of a jump ball catch down the left sideline. So that is what next year's team is going to look like. And hell, they're looking pretty damn good in 2024 as well. Isaiah Bond, 5 receptions, 103 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I said I wanted to see more explosive plays in this game. Bada bing, bada boom. They did that. That was beautiful to see. Isaiah Bond caught 1 pass to the backfield. Listen, he's not as fast as Xavier Worthy, but he has better acceleration, in my opinion. That guy gets from 0 to 60 so damn fast. When he caught that ball in the backfield, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a nice 5-10-yard game. Bang! He hits the sideline, and he is gone. There's no one anywhere close to him when he reaches top speed. And then Gunnar Helm, 1 reception, 49 yards. I tried to do prize picks, guys. I wanted to hit Gunnar Helm's over prize picks-wise. This is a free ad, I guess, but he was at like 29 yards. I'm like, that is ridiculous. He can get 1 or 2 catches and get that. He got 1 catch for 49 yards. That would have been an easy over for me there, but I couldn't do it. Prize Picks fixture website's terrible, honestly. And then Jonte Cook also had 2 touchdowns, and DeAndre Moore gets his first touchdown as a Texas Longhorn on Arch Manning's first pass of the game. Comes in, delivers DeAndre Moore on the run, a dot right where it needed to be, and it was beautiful to see. So let's go to the good and bad let's go to UTSA first, then we'll go to the good and the bad. UTSA, we held them to 4 of 21 on 3rd and 4th down. Right now, Texas is the number 15 third down team in the country on defense. Last year, we were actually number 1, guys, so it's a slight fall off, but honestly, it's really hard back-to-back years to be in that upper echelon of teams on defensive third down. So it's very impressive to even be at number 15 right now. If you go look throughout the history, guys, I did a deep dive into this when we were looking at past national championships and what it took. That 2021 Georgia defense, which is regarded as one of the best of all time, and I would agree with that, they were not good on third down defense. You can go check it. I think they were in the 20s or in the 30s. Like, they were good, but to what you thought they'd be, being like one of the best defenses ever, they weren't that good. They were in the 30s, I believe. And then only 14 first downs allowed, so that's very impressive as well. And then this was astounding to me. They about ran the same amount of plays, UTSA and Texas. Texas held UTSA to 3.77 yards per play. That has been, like, phenomenal. I thought this was the best quarterback we faced all year. I said that going into the game. I think Owen McCown has talent. I think, honestly, if I'm him, I'm looking to transfer out of UTSA because I'm going to be straight up honest. I don't think your head coach is going to be there, brother. So I think you should get out because he's a good athlete. He had a pretty good arm. He was pretty accurate. I think he can go help some teams. Honestly, right now, if Owen McCown was on Michigan, Michigan would be a lot better. They really would. This guy's not that bad. He's, like I said, the best quarterback I think we've played so far. Now, let's get to the good and the bad that I saw from Texas in this game. They hit plenty of big plays. I think they had like 6 or 7 plays over 20 yards in this game, which is phenomenal. That's what I wanted to see. Versus lesser competition, guys, I want to see you have less penalties than them, and I want you to kill them with explosive plays because you have better athletes. And you saw that in this game. The athletic ability of Texas on the outside won in a lot of different ways. On the defensive end position, you saw that with Colin Simmons and those guys. And then with the wide receivers, you saw that. So that was phenomenal to see. Very good job for Texas for that. That is the best game so far this year that we've hit explosive plays. And then they only gave up 1 sack, which is phenomenal as well. This offensive line has been doing a really good job. Kelvin Banks also tried to give us a heart attack there. When I went, I got all this information afterwards and then, or beforehand, before I got to watch the game. I sat down and watched it. Thank you to Texas Clips and Nash, by the way. You save a lot of time with that. Go follow them on Twitter or on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, guys. I watched it obviously on YouTube, and it's a 45-minute game instead of a 2-hour game, so that was awesome. Kelvin Banks obviously gave me a scare. If I wouldn't have known beforehand that he went down and then got back in the game, that really would have given me a scare because I think he is the number one guy on the team you cannot lose. He is the best offensive lineman in the country. I think that's been pretty clear through 3 weeks of the season. No offense to Will Campbell, but he's kind of honestly been overrated, just like LSU's whole offensive line, just like I told you LSU's team as a whole was. 3 sacks on the game as well for Texas, getting to UTSA and Owen McCown, which is the most on the season, which is good, but we still need to up that number. That needs to be better. We only have, I think, 5 sacks total on the year. That's not good enough. That needs to be more. Only 19 points given up on this season for the defense. That is phenomenal. I do not care who you play, guys. You can tell by the way this team is playing. Way more fundamentally sound. There's no breakdowns. They have better rush lanes. They're better in pass coverage, and also they're better tackling. So just all around a better defense. They're also super fast. I used to be a Colts fan back in the day, and then I turned into a Broncos fan when Peyton Manning left. Bada bing, whatever. Call me a fair weather fan. I don't care. That's kind of what this team reminds me of. They're really fast and fundamentally sound. They don't really have that much talent, honestly. I think they have talent, but they don't have like Georgia talent. They don't even have Oklahoma as a better overall talent on the defensive side of the ball than we do. We just play more fundamentally sound football than they do. And I think we're way more athletic than they are on defense as well. So overall, very, very good on the defensive side of the ball, only 19 points given up. It's going to be interesting when we do finally play like a good offense, which honestly, guys, looking at our schedule and thinking about it, Mississippi State's offense is not good. Oklahoma's offense so far has not been good. Georgia's offense, probably not that good. And when I'm saying good, I'm saying top 15 type offense. I don't know if we play a top 15 type offense right now. I think the best offense we might play all year is Arkansas. I really think that watching Arkansas, Taylon Green and Bobby Petrino, I think they would represent a pretty big challenge for the Texas defense. That might be the best offense we play all regular season, honestly. So that would be kind of scary going in a potential SEC championship matchup with like an Alabama, Ole Miss, or Tennessee, because those offenses are very explosive, and that's something Texas may never face in the regular season. But guess what? We'll worry about that when we get there. Things we need to get better at. Only thing on defense I want to see better, or on offense, sorry, is need to run better. 5.3 yards per carry versus UTSA is not acceptable. That number needs to be in the 7-8 range. You should be absolutely mauling them up front, and we're just not doing that. Pass protection's been fine. Catching out of the backfield for the running backs has been fine, but they need to find better lanes in the running game, and they need to maul people better up front. And then cut down on the penalties. We actually had more penalties than UTSA. We had 7. They only had 3 or 4. That should not be happening. We have better athletes. We have better coaches. We have better players. We should have less penalties in games like that. We should be able to overwhelm them to where they're basically holding or committing penalties almost every couple plays, guys, and that's just not happening right now. So that's the only thing I would say as a team on the whole that needs to be better is cut down on penalties, and especially Cameron Williams. Like, I was easy on him in the Michigan game because that's your first road start. You need to be better at UTSA. I think he had 1 or 2 procedural penalties. Again, that's unacceptable at home, so be better there. Now I'm going to get into your comments and questions before we get to the next thing. Again, that is my X. Thank you for dropping it there, Jackson. I really appreciate it. Again, guys, if you want to listen to the audio and not look at my face, go over to your favorite audio platform, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, whatever you listen to. Go over to Voice of College Football Texas, find it there, subscribe, like, listen, and then Amazon link in the description. We all use Amazon. Find it in the description, put it in your use the link, give Mark some money, some change. It does not cost you any money. All it does is send a little bit of money his way instead of Amazon. That's the only difference. And then catch Mark Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time over on the main channel. Talk football with him, call into him. He's willing to discuss whatever it is college football related. Heck, they go off sometimes on other sports. So go over there, tune in, and call into that. I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for that. Now, we will talk about Arch versus Quinn in 1 second. So, obviously, this is a big deal because everyone wants to make a big deal out of one game. Quinn Ewers goes out early, I believe, third quarter, second quarter. I'm going to be honest, I totally forget what time of the game it was. I think it was early second quarter. And breaks the internet because he has a phenomenal game. And by the way, I've been saying this. I've been getting hate for this. I have a video on the SEC channel, me saying how many teams would Arch Manning start for in the SEC. I believe there are only 4 or 5 teams I said he wouldn't start for. And then the rest were either he would start for or in the category of toss-up. I said a couple weeks ago on the Michigan channel, and I got pushed back, not from the Michigan guys, but from guys in the comment section, you're delusional. Multiple people said it. The thing I said was, I believe Arch Manning is a top 15 quarterback in college football. I also believe Quinn Ewers is the best quarterback in college football. I have said that repeatedly. And I think both are pretty obviously true at this point. Carson Beck is not better than Quinn Ewers. Go watch Carson Beck versus Kentucky. He's not. Sorry. And by the way, look at this needs to be talked about way more. Carson Beck in road games has been not good at all. He was terrible in the SEC championship game. He was terrible at Kentucky, and there was one other game I forget about that he was not good in. Quinn Ewers is better than him. End of discussion. The only one that you can even have a debate at this point whether they're better than Quinn Ewers is Shedeur Sanders at Colorado because of the talent level around him. That could be a possibility. That could be a debate. I really like my Arch Manning take, and this has there's a couple things that go into, is Arch a top 15 quarterback in the country? Just as a backup, I know we haven't seen much of him, but that's all I really needed to see because this is a down year for quarterbacks. And honestly, I may have undersold that, guys. Like, there's a legitimate argument to be made that he's top 10. Like, when you start getting into things, you talk about Shedeur, Carson, and Quinn, and then I would put Cam Ward in there, Nico in there, and then there's a pretty big fall off. I think Dylan Gabriel's good. He's not great. Let's see, Will Howard at Ohio State, Kyle McCord at Syracuse. I'm continually going down the list, and I think Arch Manning is in that territory. I really believe you could argue Arch Manning as high as 7 or 8. You really could. That's not a crazy argument. I don't care what anyone says. I've been pretty much validated in my opinion of top 15 and Quinn being the number 1 quarterback. And then there's the argument of them versus each other. So this is where I stand, and this is where I think most people should stand, in my opinion, especially if you're a Texas fan. Quinn Ewers is a starter. There's no questions asked. I do not understand why this is even a debate. Quinn Ewers has proven it to you in Alabama. He's proven it to you in the Big House. He's proven it to you in the Red River Showdown, Red River Rivalry, Red River Shootout, whatever you want to call it. He has proven it in those games. Arch Manning has not proven that. Arch Manning has played UTSA, the end of Texas Tech, and Colorado State. Has he looked phenomenal in those games? Absolutely he has. He has a cannon of an arm. He's a super good athlete. Things have slowed down for him tremendously from his freshman year, but he is not Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers, you can tell when he goes out there, is in full command of this offense. He knows exactly what to do, when to do it, and where to go with the football. Arch Manning does not. There were a couple plays in this game you saw things were way too fast for him. Now, in certain areas, you could tell the athleticism and the arm strength, he was able to outmaneuver people, get around them, and in one case, run for a long touchdown. And you're like, wow, this guy's a lot of talent. And he does. I think he is more purely talented than Quinn Ewers, but he does not have an understanding or a full understanding of this offense to where he can run every play in that playbook to the way it should be executed. He does not. That's one thing he does not have. That's why he's not starting. That's why he should not start. When he does have that, which I think there's a really good chance he does that next year, you're going to see him play better than Quinn Ewers because he has more God-given talent than Quinn Ewers does. And you saw this with Steve Sarkisian even like changed up the plays. There was less pre-snap motion with Arch Manning in than Quinn Ewers by like 10 to 15%. And that's because Steve Sarkisian knows that is fooling Arch Manning now as much as it fools the defense with the pre-snap motion. So he had to dumb down the playbook a little bit. Steve Sarkisian, when he has the full playbook allowed to be used, you see that in big games like Michigan, Alabama. It's a damn hard offense to stop. You saw that in 2020 with Mac Jones. Not the best quarterback, but he understood the playbook better than almost anyone that's ever been in this system. Quinn Ewers was approaching that level before he got hurt. And with his talent, which is way better than Mac Jones, and his ability to understand the playbook and execute the playbook, we were headed down a fantastic road before that injury. It takes a step back with Arch in the passing game. I think it takes a step forward with him in the running game a little bit because he has that threat. But overall, Quinn understands the playbook, executes the playbook, and he should be the starter going forward. Guys, when we get into the Louisiana Monroe preview, I don't care if Arch Manning throws for 750 yards and 10 touchdowns this week. Louisiana Monroe is a god-awful team. They might be the worst team in the FBS. We will break that down a little bit. They are very, very bad. Like, Colorado State would probably beat them by 3 touchdowns. Louisiana Monroe is not good. Could they have gotten better this year? Possibly, but they're not much better under Brian Vincent. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Again, guys, please hit that like. Please hit that subscribe button. This is the 21st edition of Texas Longhorns here live. I'm your host, Matthew Miller. I really appreciate you guys being here. Again, like and subscribe. Share this out with your friends, family, anybody that you know that likes football. I'm here every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, so thank you guys for being here. Now, we're going to get into a recruiting update before we get into Louisiana Monroe. And obviously, Myron Charles flipped last week from Florida State to Texas. Javion Hilson decommitted from Florida State and is, I think, going to end up at Texas. I think that's, unless someone comes in and makes him a Godfather offer, I just see him going to Texas at this point. I think he wants to be there. I think Texas is up in their NIL money enough. And this guy is a phenomenal, phenomenal player. He would be joining Lance Jackson, who on Rivals just became a 5-star, Smith Orogbo on the defensive line, who's a 4-star, could become a 5-star. Myron Charles and Josiah Sharma, Myron Charles is a 4-star, Josiah Sharma up a 3-star, lower 4-star, and Javion Hilson could be a 5-star by the end of this dude. This could be the best defensive line class in the country. I have a video on that as well on this channel. So recruiting, visitors for Mississippi State. We have Walter Mathis Jr., defensive lineman from Georgia. He is an LSU commit at this point. So I'm wondering what angle they will take with him on the defensive line recruiting, because there are openings for him to come in and play at Texas, but there's way more opportunity for him to go play at LSU at this point. Guys, I don't know if you watched them versus South Carolina. That defense is still not good. They need a lot of help on that defense. So if he wants a lot of playing time right away, I think that's where he would go. I think Texas can easily sell him on NFL draft stock in winning. Alfred Collins will be in the NFL after this year. You see Keandre Coburn and Moro Ojimo in the NFL from the staff. You see Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy come to the NFL from this staff. So overall, I think that's where Texas is going to sell, is the NFL upside and also winning at the college level when you're here. I think LSU, there's a chance. I mean, guys, they should have lost the South Carolina game. If Lenora Sellers doesn't get hurt, they lose that game. I had LSU at 9-3. I almost had them at 8-4. I had them at 8-4 for the longest time, and then I decided I just can't do it. I put them at 9-3. I had South Carolina at 7-5, so that actually makes me feel better about that. But LSU's not that good. They really aren't. If they had a harder schedule, they would be like an 8-4, 7-5 team. They're not very good. And then Chase Sims is also coming in from Mississippi State in a couple weeks. He is an A&M commit. And again, guys, for him, can he get over being passed up by Texas for the longest time and then prioritizing other recruits? If he can get over that, then I think he ends up at Texas. If he cannot get over that, then I think he ends up at A&M or somewhere else. Depends on how their season goes. There's so many. The middle tier of the SEC it's at a tipping point. I have no clue how some of these teams are going to finish, so it's going to be very interesting. Javion Hilson will also be coming to the Mississippi State game. Guys, I think if the way Texas recruits, I would be shocked if he leaves the Mississippi State game and he isn't committed to the University of Texas. I think if he comes to this game, like he should, a couple of these guys have bailed before. If he doesn't bail and shows up to this game, I think he ends up committed to the University of Texas. I really believe that. You'll see a video dropped here if he is. Again, I will be here with a video if he comes to Texas. Myron Charles and Josiah Sharma, Texas Longhorns commits, will be there as well. So it's awesome to have them on campus. And then Texas versus Georgia. By the way, I'm not naming any 2026 or 2027, only 2025. Guys, it's hard to keep these guys it's hard to keep track of these guys. I'm not going to be able to keep track of these all the other guys. One, it's not my full-time job right now. If it was my full-time job, I'm getting paid for this. This was my life. I could. Not my full-time job right now. Joseph Mbachu, defensive lineman for Georgia. From Georgia, committed to Florida, will be in town for the Texas versus Georgia game. Jonah Williams and Kelshawn Johnson will also be. Jonah Williams obviously committed to the University of Texas. Kelshawn Johnson committed to Texas A&M. I think out of the next defensive lineman, if Javion Hilson does come into the fold, I think Joseph Mbachu is the next most likely. He already visited for the UTSA game. He's coming back for Georgia, so he obviously liked his visit to Texas. This guy is huge, guys. 6'4.5", almost 6'5", over 300 pounds. Really good. I think he can play on the outside and inside. So this is a big commitment if they can get him from Florida. And I think, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I think Florida is there for the taking. Anyone on Florida, if you want them, I think Texas should dive head first and 1 into that roster, 2 into the recruiting class, because Billy Napier is not going to be there that long. If Florida is smart, they fire Billy Napier very soon so they can find someone, put the fishing line out there and catch them and let them know or ahead of time, so then keep this class together, because Florida has a pretty good class coming in. But if you fire him late and then you hire someone late, they're going to be gone, and hopefully Texas can benefit from that. Kelshawn Johnson, obviously from A&M. Guys, to me, the sale here is easy. We need a third wide receiver in this class, a speedy guy. He fits that. And number 2, Texas A&M. Why the hell would you want to go there? Who have they produced at the wide receiver position? The guys you've produced have transferred. Evan Stewart is no longer there. Your best wide receiver, he's at Oregon. Moose Muhammad, who had a good 1 or 2 years there, has not done well and may not even end up in the NFL at this point, like his dad, who's an underrated wide receiver in the NFL. And in this new offense under Colin Klein, you don't fit in this offense. They want to run the ball. Why would you go there? Unless they are just absolutely giving you a gigantic offer in NIL. I do not understand it, man. I do not understand it. Look what Texas produces at wide receivers under Steve Sarkisian to what? There's no track record for Mike Elko, and there's no track record for Jimbo Fisher. Unless, hypothetically, Texas offers you $500,000 and A&M's offering you $1 million, I understand. But if it's anywhere close, if it's 600 to 500, you're a moron if you're not going to the University of Texas over Texas A&M. I don't even know how Texas A&M fans could argue that. That doesn't make any sense to me. First off, your draft stock will be higher when you leave Texas, so you'll make that up. Like, if you're 1 or 2 rounds drafted ahead of where you would have been going to Texas, then A&M, that right there, that makes up the money. So it does not make any sense to me. It really doesn't. You see how Ryan Wingo's doing in this offense. You see how Isaiah Bonds already almost had his best year in college already through 3 games. I think he has like 300 yards receiving. His highest ever was like 500 or 600. So I I don't get it. If you're a wide receiver, listen, if you're a wide receiver quarterback, Texas should be in your top 3. Period. End of story. I don't understand it. Steve Sarkisian has a track record there. This program now has a track record there. You should be coming to the University of Texas. That's what I'd be saying. I would literally sit there and be like, brother, what are you doing? Why aren't you coming to Texas? And then for UTSA, like I said, Joseph Mbachu came to town, and then Michael Terry III did come to town. Guys, that's going to be very interesting to me right now. If Nebraska keeps playing like they're playing and they have really good NIL, I could see him going there. I think it's going to be Nebraska or Texas. I think Oregon has fallen out of favor here. I think it's too far away, and I don't think he likes the way they'd use him. They said running back, which doesn't make any sense to me. He wants to be a wide receiver or an offensive weapon, as Texas is selling. He doesn't want to be pigeonholed to one position unless that one position is wide receiver, whereas Texas saying tight end, wide receiver, H-back. So it's going to be very interesting. That is your recruiting update. I think you're most likely to commit next is Javion Hilson. I think your next behind that is probably Joseph Mbachu. And your next possible flip, out of all the guys that are committed somewhere else, I honestly think Kelshawn Johnson coming in for that Texas versus Georgia game and the way Texas A&M is playing offense, I think that's a really good possibility of a flip there, guys. So that is your recruiting update. Again, please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. We're going to get into the Louisiana Monroe preview. We're going to break it down for you. Guys, I guarantee you, you will not find anywhere else on YouTube, the big channels, small channels, anywhere in between channels, that is going to break down this Louisiana Monroe game like I am. You're not going to find it. If you can find it, send it to me on X. Send it to me on X. This is my Twitter, by the way, right there, at MatthewMS97. Send it to me on X. So we're going to jump into the Louisiana Monroe preview, guys. So, like I said, this team, not very good. They were not good last year. 2-10 last year, 0-8 in conference. They hadn't won an FBS game until they beat UAB this year in the American Athletic Conference. They are 2-0 this year. They beat Jackson State and UAB. That was their first FBS win since the first game of last year versus Army. Like I said, 2-0 this year. They fired Terry Bowden, hired Brian Vincent. Let's go. Now, these are last year's stats. Listen, I'm not going to count this year's stats when you've only played 2 games. To me, when we're counting opponents, I will go through this year's stats when they played 4 games. That is a big enough sample size. That is 130-year season in the books. 2 games is not enough. That's 1/6. So I'm not going to do that. So for last year, guys, they averaged 17.3 points per game, 128th in the country, 128th on point scoring on offense. It doesn't get much better on defense. 34.9 points per game against. That is 125th in the country last year. So 128th on offense scoring, 125th on defense points allowed in scoring. Just a god-awful team overall. Now let's jump into the offense, break it down a little bit further. Yards per play on offense, 4.7. We just held UTSA to 3.77, which is only 1 yard less. 4.7 yards per game on offense, or per play on offense last year, ranked 109th on offense last year in the country. Third down percentage in the country on offense, 31.45%. They only converted 31.45%. That is 117th in the country out of 133 teams. Rush yards per game allowed for Louisiana Monroe, 133.6 rush yards allowed per game. That would be 86th in the country allowing rush yards per game. Rush attempts per game, they're actually about the same. 3.9 yards, 3.9 yards allowed per attempt, 87th in the country. Pass yards per game, 181.7, 106th in the country. Pass yards per attempt, 6.2, 113th in the country. Their best thing on offense was rush yards per game at 86. Think about that. The best thing you did was 86th best in the country last year. That is abysmal. When we are talking bad, we are talking this was the worst team in college football last year. Period. They might be that this year. I think they're going to be a little bit better, but not much better. On defense, they allowed 51.25% of third down. That was dead last in the country last year. Only 2 teams, allowed over 50%. They were one of them with 51.25%. Rush yards per game on offense, 176 0.5. That was 103rd in the country. Rush yards per attempt, 4.3. That was 70th in the country. That's the best number you're going to see on offense and defense. Pass yards per game, 282.6. That was 129th in the country. Sorry, this is defense. Last one was offense. I got those messed up. I'm sorry about that. This is defense. 282.6 yards per game allowed, 129th in the country. Pass yards per attempt on defense, 8.4, 117th in the country. So again, defense, 51.25% allowed conversion rate on defense, 133rd in the country. Rush yards per game, 176.5, 103rd in the country. Rush yards per attempt on defense, 4.3, 70 in the country. So at least they are average on that. Pass yards per game, 282.6 yards per game allowed defense, 129th in the country. Pass yards per attempt, 8.4, 117th in the country, defense. Now I'm going to run through it again because I messed up on offense. Yards per play on offense, 4.7, 109th in the country. Third down percentage, 31.45% on offense, 117th in the country. Rush yards per game, 133.6, 86th in the country. Rush yards per attempt, 3.9, 87th in the country. Rush yards per game, 181.7, 106th in the country. Pass yards per game, 181.7, 106th in the country. And pass yards per attempt, 6.2, 113th in the country on offense. Abysmal, guys. So if your best ranking on offense is 86 in rush yards per game, and your best ranking on defense is 4.3 yards per rushing attempt, 70th in the country, that's your best. That is why you go 2-10. That is why you only average 17.3 points per game on offense, which is 128, and 34.9 points per game given up, 125th in the country out of 133 teams. They are bad. Now, let's get into this year's team, what they lost, what they have coming back. You'll notice some of these names. Some of these names might be familiar. So, again, they bring in Brian Vincent. He was New Mexico's offensive coordinator last year. He was actually pretty good with them, guys. They were ranked pretty highly in the rushing game and overall pretty good offense. He was also the interim at UAB before that, and they were decent with him as the interim. And so far, they've won 2 games as many as they did last year. So he is an improvement over Terry Bowden. One starter returns on offense, Elijah Fisher at the left guard position, 6 on defense. But again, guys, I think it's good that they don't have many returning players because you were god-awful last year. When you're this bad as a football team on both sides of the ball, you want as much turnover as you can get. And all three leading receivers are gone, and Tyrone Howe, Daria Wiley, and Bugs Mortimer. That's a freaking awesome name, by the way. And then their 2 leading tacklers are gone as well, and Michael Batten and Max Harris. Returning on defense, these are the 6 guys returning. Nose tackle Jalen Ware, defensive tackle Aiden Huntington, which is probably their best overall player on defense, or if not, he's probably one of 2 or 3 on defense. Linebacker Carl Glass Jr., linebacker Traver Randall, cornerback David Godsey, and safety Carlin Viggers. They bring in quarterback General Booty. Yes, that is his name. General Booty is the starting quarterback. Louisiana Monroe so far in 2 games, 19 of 30, 63.3% completion percentage, 191 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Running game has actually gotten going this year. They've actually been pretty decent so far in the 2 games. Ahmad Hardy, 33 rushes, 161 yards, 4.9 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns. James Jones as well, 20 rushes, 110 yards, 5.5 yards per attempt, and 1 touchdown. So the running game has gotten going under Brian Vincent, and that's to be expected, guys. He was really good at New Mexico getting their running game going. So it's pretty clear to me, guys, that this guy knows what he is doing in the running game, and I think you're going to see that versus Texas. I think this will be the best test Texas has, like skill position wise and scheme wise, of attacking our defensive line. I really believe that. So it's going to be interesting how we respond there. And talent wise, I would agree Michigan has more talent, but their offensive line's abysmal. And no offense, they run a pretty vanilla, pretty bad scheme. I think this team actually schemes it up better than Michigan does running the ball. Now, through the air, they're not going to be able to present a test. Devon Wells is their second leading receiver, 7 receptions, 46 yards, 6.6 yards per completion with 1 touchdown. And then Javon Campbell is their leading receiver, 5 receptions, 89 yards, 1 touchdown. They're just not going to be able to test us through the air. To me, if as a Texas fan, I want to see the line of scrimmage, how they're able to run versus us, and see how we're able to do there. To me, that matters the most in this game for us. Defense, Carl Glass Jr., again, he was returning. He's also their leading tackler this year. Pretty damn good job in 2 games, 21 tackles. And then this guy who is coming in for them has done a good job. Defensive end Billy Poland, first on the team in tackles for loss with 4. And he has 3.5 sacks in 2 games. So someone to look out for. Depends where he lines up, whether it's going to be Cam Williams or Kelvin Banks. Let's see how they defend him. He's not going to be the best pass rusher we faced. That's going to be either Isaiah Stewart or Derek Moore for Michigan, but he's probably the 3rd best. So it's going to be an interesting test for our guys. And then Kalen Viggers with 1 interception and Wyatt Williams with 1 interception. Kalen Viggers is a safety. Wyatt Williams kind of plays safety and cornerback. So it's going to be interesting there. To me, guys, in this game for Texas, again, stopping the run's going to be key. How do we do that? This team wants to run the ball. They have a guy in Brian Vincent who does a phenomenal job scheming it up for his teams being able to run the ball, even when they have lesser talent out of New Mexico or out of Louisiana Monroe. So I want to see how we stop the run. I want to see when they do have to drop back to pass, because I'm sure we will force them into some 3rd and longs. I want to see us get after the quarterback and bring down General Booty, because God, it's hard to say that and take that seriously, but I want to see General Booty get taken down for multiple sacks in this game. There's going to be a couple 3rd and long opportunities. He doesn't do a great job of reading defenses. He's a more 1 or 2 read guy and then trying to run. So there's going to be opportunities for us to get him into the ground there. So Texas has to do that and get a couple sacks there. On the offensive side of the ball, is this defense better? Yes. But Arch Manning, my dude, like, you should ball out here. Arch Manning should have over 250 yards passing, honestly, if they leave him in long enough. Like, if Arch Manning plays 3 quarters, he should have 250 yards passing and 3 to 4 touchdowns. Again, he should probably have 2 or 3 long runs. This team, I do believe, has better coaching than last year's team. So I think Louisiana Monroe is no longer the worst team in Division I, but I think they're probably in the 90s to 100 range. So we should kill them. I believe the spread's something like over 40 points. I'm going to have Texas winning this game 52-10. I don't know if that covers the spread, but I'm going to go 52-10 Texas. That is my prediction for Texas versus Louisiana Monroe, 52-10 Texas. I don't know if that covers the spread. I think if the spread is 40, then it covers it. If it's anything like, I think I saw 45.5. I just don't think they're going to cover 45.5. I don't think Steve Sarkisian is going to run up the score. I think he ran up the score a little bit versus UTSA because for whatever reason, their players decided to talk shit the whole game. That's not going to happen with the Louisiana Monroe. And I think Steve Sarkisian will take it a little bit easy on him. So I think Texas beats Louisiana Monroe 52-10. I think we do what we got to do. I just want to see what we've been doing, basically. Consistency on both sides of the ball, playing to our standard, take down on the penalties a little bit, get to the quarterback a little bit more, close the rushing lanes, because Robert Henry from UTSA did have 1 long run. Basically, get rid of that 1 long run. You do that, I'm happy. Guys, I'm going to be straight up honest with you. No one on the schedule really is going to test us until we get to Oklahoma. And I may change my mind on that, because if Oklahoma goes and gets blown out by Tennessee, yes, you have the rivalry factor, but that shouldn't play a gigantic role in this. Like, if we're the best team in the country and Oklahoma's the 20th, we should beat them by 10 plus points, even though it's a rivalry game. So Texas beats UL Monroe 52-10. We move to 4-0 for the first time since, well, we did it last year too, but before that, it had been a long time. And we are still the number 1 team in the country. That may not last, though, because if Georgia does go on the road and beat Alabama, we may drop down to number 2. But enjoy it, guys. It's been 16 years since Texas has been the number 1 team in the country. In 2008, we were only there for 3 weeks. But everything, be happy, but be hungry. And I think that's the message Steve Sarkisian continues to preach to the team. Obviously, we're not the team, so we can celebrate a little bit more. But don't go crazy, guys. Number 1 right now, like Michael Taft said today in the media availability, it doesn't matter. Like, if we're not holding that championship trophy at the end of the year, it doesn't matter. And honestly, with this team and in my expectations of what Quinn Ewers was going to be and what he showed me to be, that should be the expectation of the fan base is the national championship. So the number 1 Texas Longhorns are going to beat UL Monroe 52-10. We will move on from that and move on to Mississippi State. I'm hoping to get a guest on for Mississippi State. We'll see what I can do. I really appreciate you guys being here. Again, like and subscribe to the content. I will be here Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I will be here for every game afterwards, post game. So please join me for that. I really appreciate you guys being here as always, and hook them to the number 1 team in college football, the Texas Longhorns. Been a long time, guys. Enjoy it. Thank you. Like and subscribe.